Part 13. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 127. Rog looked at this huge warship. This powerful warship and more than 10 other warships formed a powerful fleet. This time, he and Sanji were going to Alabasta together under the escort of this fleet. Dalton waved his hand and said, "Everyone, please go to the flagship." "Up here?" Roger asked. "Yes, everyone. We will tow your ships behind this flagship. So you don't have to be on that ship. This flagship has sufficient supplies and better living conditions. You can compare here." "Better strategizing," Dalton said. After Rog looked at it, he also nodded. Indeed, the cabins of the male crew on the Golden Mary were cramped. With this flagship, it must be much more comfortable to live in. And you can have more conversations with people in the fleet on this flagship. It's not bad. "Everyone, let's all go up too," Rog said. Sanji and the others also looked at the Victory banner. "I live up here, but let me ask if there is a good kitchen and kitchen utensils up here." "The various ingredients must be very good," Sanji asked leisurely. "There must be a lot of meat on it," Luffy asked excitedly. "We're going to board this ship, but you must tow the Mary well." "It will be a big trouble if you lose that ship," Usopp said solemnly. Zoro and Chopper didn't say a word, while Marianne continued to eat the snacks in her hand. Nami looked at Dalton and said, "Let me ask, is this flagship the same one that has the golden treasure you gave us?" Dalton looked at her and said, "Ask about the treasures, we put them all in the warehouse above the Victory banner." "Great!" Nami said so happily that she almost jumped up. Wai Wei was already full of energy and said seriously, "Everyone, let's go up together." "Okay, let's go," Sanji said happily. A group of people began to walk up the simple wooden ladder lowered from the side of the ship. The 5 Rogs have also arrived on the deck of the Victory flag. From here, it looks like a huge warship. The well-trained soldiers on deck walked around, doing their jobs. Even so, the wide deck of this warship is very tidy. Dalton also went on the deck together, and at the same time, a burly man with a big beard and a captain's hat came over to talk to Dalton. "Leader Dalton, we have successfully taken control of these fleets. In addition to the officers and soldiers who surrendered to the king, we have also sent 200 elite soldiers here to lead the fleets," this burly man report. Rog and the others also knew this man. He was one of the top members of Dalton's resistance forces before, and he could be called Dalton's right-hand man. Dalton said to the man, "Good job, Ver. I entrust these friends to you. Be sure to send them safely to Alabasta. Afterwards, you will support their fight until the problem is resolved." "Don't worry, Leader Dalton. We will definitely live up to our responsibility," Ver said with a respectful salute. Now the original resistance forces in the Magnetic Drum Kingdom have become regular government forces, so former subordinates like Ver also speak respectfully to Dalton. Dalton said to Rog and the others, "Everyone, although I really want to help you go to Alabasta, but I need to do a series of work here because of the newborn of Drum Country. But my deputy, now the commander of this fleet, Ver, will help you." Ver also said respectfully to Rog and the others, "Don't worry, everyone, I will be firmly responsible for you to the end. You have made such a huge contribution to the Sigo Kingdom, and we can't repay you. Escorting you like this is a sure way to die, no problem. If you need any help, please let me know." "Then you need to take care of it," Rog said. At the same time, the fleet soldiers tied the Golden Mary behind the stern of the flagship with several wide and strong iron chains. Usopp was also very concerned about going to the stern of the boat to see if the tie was secure. Still, he was very satisfied with the result. Dalton disembarked from the flagship after talking with Rog and others. Ver began to issue orders to the officers and soldiers around him. With the Victory flag as its core, the Drum Kingdom's fleet set sail for Alabasta. The officers and soldiers immediately carried out the order, and at the same time, the phone bug sent orders to more than a dozen other warships. The huge sails of the Victory banner began to be lowered, and the anchor at the bow was pulled up. More than a dozen other warships also set sail one after another. Roger and the others looked from the side of the ship to Dalton at the port. "Goodbye, Dalton." Roger and they shouted together. Dalton waved his hands to everyone and said, "I wish you all the best of luck." The Victory banner's speed was very fast, and the huge hull quickly left the shallow water area of the port and entered the ocean. Roger and Sanji breathed the air above the ocean to their heart's content, enjoying the sea breeze. "This is our sea, and this is the long-lost ocean life," Sanji and Roger said with emotion as they blew the sea breeze. "This is the ocean of our lives." "I miss you so much," Luffy said, stretching out his arms. "The air is very good, and I can stay here for a few days," Sauron said, looking at the port of Drum Country, which was getting farther and farther away. Wai Wei looked at Magnetic Drum Island without saying a word, and then she turned her gaze to the wider ocean. In the distant motherland of Alabasta, the catastrophe is still going on. But this time she is very confident. During the Revolutionary War of the Drum Country, Rog and the others' reliability and strength were fully demonstrated. Now the fleet of the Drum Kingdom is helping to resolve the battle in Alabasta. "Father, you must hold on." Wai Wei prayed silently in her heart. Running fast, she seemed to understand Wai Wei's mind, opened her mouth and let out a "ga," then looked at the distant sea with a serious expression. Chopper stood on the side of the boat, watching Magnetic Drum Island go away intently. The kingdom of ice and snow, as well as the 7 tall peaks like iron barrels, are now becoming smaller and smaller in sight. Usopp and Sanji noticed Chopper's situation. "This is the first time this little guy has left here," Usopp said. "He must be very reluctant to leave his hometown." "But a good man has his ambitions in all directions," Sanji said, blowing smoke rings from his mouth. Chopper suddenly saw the most central peak, that is, the central peak. Suddenly a pink firework exploded in the sky. Immediately afterwards more pink fireworks exploded. Higher above the top of the central peak quickly turned into a cluster of pink petal-like fireworks. Rog and the others could also see clearly. "It's like a huge cherry blossom tree," Rog said with emotion. "This is a beauty that is hard to see in the world," Sanji also said. "Is this Sakura?" Usopp said in surprise. "Pink flowers." "Wow," Luffy said happily. "How is this possible?" Nami said in disbelief. "The cherry blossoms are actually blooming in this ice and snow kingdom." "It's the fireworks," Wai Wei said in surprise. "The 5,000-meter high peak of the central mountain is the tree trunk. Countless shells fired higher above it exploded in the air, forming pink fireworks, and finally accumulated like huge cherry blossoms growing on the mountain." The people in the entire fleet were also very surprised, and they all looked at this magnificent scene. "This is Shillock's cherry blossom. Then it must be Guriva, the doctor," Chopper said with some excitement. In Chopper's mind, he recalled the legend about the cherry blossoms about Hiruru. There are countless cherry blossoms blooming on the remote island. Now the sky above Magnetic Drum Country is full of incomparably huge groups of cherry blossoms. On top of the central peak of Drum Island, Dr. Gulawa is ordering a group of strong men to fire shells into the sky. After the shells exploded into fireworks, this amazing and spectacular beauty was formed. "Here a look, let him complete your will," Dr. Gulawa said, looking at the beautiful scenery above the sky. On the side of the Victory banner, the cliff face was covered with tears, and it shouted towards the sky. "Dr. Ciruluk, Dr. Guriva. I will fulfill my dream." Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Le'era Dream. Chapter 128. With tears all over his face, Chopper looked at Drum Island covered in fireworks like cherry blossoms. Chopper gritted his teeth, and turned his head hard to look at the sea on the other side. "Bidding farewell to my hometown, a new journey begins. Rog, Sanji, and the others looked at the pink cherry blossom fireworks that were constantly spreading over Drum Island. This beautiful scenery seemed to symbolize the rebirth of Drum Country and their gratitude to Rog and his party. The huge sail of the Victory banner was blown by the sea wind, and began to lead the fleet of more than a dozen warships to sail. Vils was standing in the command room near the bow. A muscular naval officer was at the helm, with several other senior officers talking around him. "Everyone, we need to rush to the kingdom of Alabasta as soon as possible," Ver said. "Commander Ver, we have a permanent pointer to Alabasta in our hands." "All Junjin are fully armed and going to Alabasta," an officer said. "Commander Ver, now our intelligence personnel use the radio channel of the phone bug to listen to information about Alabasta. At the same time, they will also buy newspapers from some trained seabirds who sell newspapers. There are also maps and maps of Alabasta in the war room. In various situations, we will always study where to land and some other important information," another officer said. "The supplies of our fleet are also very sufficient. According to our calculations, in addition to arriving in Alabasta, it can be used for another 2 months without purchasing supplements. These times are definitely enough to solve the problem." "There is another person in charge," the baggage officer said. "Our fleet has sufficient weapons and ammunition, and we have brought a large number of advanced weapons manufactured by Drexus and the world government in the magnetic drum arsenal. They must be put to good use in Alabasta," said an officer in charge of weapons. Fleet Commander Ver nodded after listening to the report, and said, "Very well, everything in our fleet is fully prepared." The powerful fleet evacuated and distanced itself from Drum Island. "Sail at full speed towards Alabasta." On the deck of the Victory banner, Roger, Sanji, and Chopper were all watching the wide view of the sea by the side of the ship. The sea and the sky meet, and there is no end in sight. Rog stood on the deck, feeling the smooth and fast sailing of the behemoth under his feet. "I don't know why, but the speed of this warship is really fast. It seems that the hull structure and sails are very characteristic and reasonable," Rog said. Sanji stood aside, lit a new cigarette and said while smoking, "I feel it too. I will visit the kitchen here later. Maybe the chefs of the fleet don't know how to cook, and I will help them." Sanji also walked away quickly. He wanted to ask where the kitchen was in the cabin. Wai Wei walked to Rog's side again. And run fast. After leaving Magnetic Drum Island, she quickly warmed up, and Wai Wei also returned to a casual unlined garment. Running fast is no longer wearing a scarf. This lively duck is also really tenacious in survival, whether it is in the cold winter or the desert kingdom where it was born, it can be alive and kicking. Wai Wei looked at the distant sea, thinking about many things in her heart. "Wai Wei, I once asked Ver. He said that it will take 5 days for the fleet to reach Alabasta. We must always plan our actions in Alabasta during these 5 days, Rog said." Wai Wei looked at Rog with a serious face and said thankfully, "Rog, thank you so much for so long. Now I need you to help me so much. I really don't know how to thank you. Me, my father and Alaba the people of Stan will appreciate you." "Don't say that, are we also enemies with Crocodile? And we pirates are always adventurous. When we encounter a crisis, we have to solve it." "It's nothing to me and Sanji," Rog said. Wai Wei nodded her head, thinking again that she must save Alabasta. Otherwise, it would be difficult to justify failing everyone's help. Roger glanced at the people on the deck again, except for Sanji who said he went to see the kitchen. Everyone else was there. But it seems that there is one person missing, and that is Nami. At this time, in the command room at the front of the Victory banner ship, Nami is talking with the commander of the Val's fleet at this time. At this time, Nami looked serious, and asked Ver, "Commander Ver, I want to ask a very important matter." "You are Miss Nami?" "Please tell me," Ver said. "Let me ask you, Dalton said he was going to give us a large amount of treasures, right? But where are those treasures?" Nami blinked and said. Nami really couldn't wait to find the treasure that Dalton gave them. Only then did Vare realize suddenly, and said, "So it's this one, Major Hobbs, take Miss Nami to see those treasures." A young major came over and said, "Yes, this lady. I will show you the way." Nami clasped her hands happily and followed Major Hobbs. Major Hobbs led Nami to a cabin door in the middle of the ship. "Order the guards to open the door, and inside is a warehouse full of boxes. Miss Nami, please look at these boxes." Major Hobbs opened a box himself. When the wooden box was opened, it was a group of gold bars. After seeing these gold bars, Nami couldn't wait to rush to the front. He picked up a gold bar and stuffed it into his mouth and bit it down. The hardness of this gold bar is definitely pure gold. As expected of Dalton, he is really willing to give us this kind of gold bars. Nami was immersed in her love for gold. After Major Hobbs saw Nami worshipping money like a wolf, like a tiger, he was also frightened. "Miss Nami, do you want to see something else?" Major Hobbs said again. Nami quickly recovered and put the gold bar in her mouth back into the box. Nami quickly put on a smiley face and said, "Okay, please let me see more treasures." Major Hobbs opened the boxes containing gold statues, gems, pearls, jade, rare metals, and gold and silver weapons one after another. Every time Nami watched it was a surprise enough to make this money-loving girl faint. Nami continued to look at the dozens of wooden boxes in the warehouse, and after carefully checking the authenticity of these treasures, she spent a lot of time here intoxicated. Major Hobbs and a few guards on the side felt exaggerated. They have all seen people who love money as much as life, but this is the first time they have seen someone like Nami. "Miss Nami, have you seen enough?" Major Hobbs asked. Nami turned her head and said, "Not yet." Nami kept a gold horse sculpture in her hand, and now she is immersed in the love of gold. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 129. Nami spent a long time here immersed in the golden treasure before leaving. Sanji also went to get acquainted with the kitchen of this warship. Sure enough, the kitchen utensils and tableware there are very satisfactory to him, and a variety of ingredients are also extremely rich. Luffy, Usopp and others also checked various facilities and rooms on this warship. Rog, Waiwei, and Vare went to the information room on the Victory Banner together. Rog and Waiwei went to the intelligence room under the leadership of Vare. As soon as he entered the intelligence room, he saw a huge map on the wall. This map is none other than Alabasta. "Alabasta, this is our destination," Rog said while looking at the map. Vare immediately explained, "This is because we are about to go to Alabasta, so I asked the intelligence personnel to prepare a map of Alabasta and some documents for easy inquiry." Rog could clearly see from the corner of his eye that Waiwei was obviously agitated after seeing this huge map of Alabasta. For Vivi, her home country of Alabasta is in dire straits. The war is tormenting that ancient civilization all the time. It can be said that Alabasta is shedding blood every day. Vare looked at Rog and Waiwei and said, "Please sit down. Let's briefly discuss the matter of arriving in Alabasta." Rog and Waiwei both sat down, and they discussed with Vare and other important officials how to land in Alabasta. Although there is a fleet now, the opponent is Crocodile, and the conditions in Alabasta are complicated, so the enemy should not be underestimated. "Everyone, the situation in Alabasta is critical now, and the civil war is in full swing. So we must land cautiously and start the operation as soon as possible," Rog said. Vare nodded after hearing this, and said, "I have already heard your story when I was in the Drum Kingdom, and I probably know that you are going to Alabasta to stop a catastrophe and expose the culprit of the kingdom's civil war." "Exactly, that's why we need to rush to Alabasta as soon as possible and try to prevent the ongoing civil war." We must immediately publicize the evil deeds of the behind-the-scenes Baroque studio and their master Crocodile, Roger said. Wei nodded after hearing this and said, we must stop the war as soon as we land, and then spread the truth quickly. Ver and several other senior fleet officers looked at each other, and an intelligence officer quickly took out a dozen documents. Everyone, intelligence is crucial to the battle. So I will read you some very important intelligence. 3 days ago, about rebels and royal troops were in a large desert in the southern area of the capital Aruba. Fierce fighting. The 2 counterattacks suffered heavy losses, and many senior members were killed. However, although the king's army was at a numerical disadvantage, they were able to withstand the attack for a long time due to the sufficient supplies and strong city defenses in the area around Aruba, intelligence officer said. Rog and Wei looked at each other. The current situation can be said to be very obvious. Although the war is still chaotic, at least the 2 sides are at a stalemate in offense and defense. For the time being, it will not be a few days, but it will be one-sided. The intelligence officer continued to pull out documents all night long and said, next is the information about the Shishibukai, that is, Sand Crocodile. Crocodile was stationed here in Alabasta for a long time and fought against pirates. He was captured by Alabasta. The people regard him as a hero. However, no evidence has been found in the current information channels that he was involved in the civil war in Alabastan. This is very important. Do you really have proof that he was involved in the civil war in Alabasta, or that he was? Is this evidence of the real culprit? Rog glanced at Vivi, and the strong princess said, I have. Crocodile used dancing powder in Alabasta to break the unity of the kingdom and cause rebellion. I also have photos of the Baroque studio storing dancing powder. However, in order to better prove everything, it is best to find evidence about the storage of dancing powder in the Baroque studio on the spot. Let more witnesses see it with their own eyes. After hearing this, Ver and the intelligence officer had nothing to say. The intelligence officer said, that's good. In addition, there is also information from the world government. Because such a tragic civil war broke out in Alabasta, the world government sent some diplomatic envoys and a small number of naval agents and troops to participate in the coordination. But they were unable to suppress local conflicts. These Rog and Wei are not surprising. Alabasta is now fighting with millions of troops, and the world government can only maintain stability if it sends more than naval troops. But now it seems that the world government is moving too slowly. After all, the world is in danger now. Pirates are rampant on the great routes and all over the world, and the revolutionary army headed by the Dragon, which is regarded as an extremely terrifying force by the world government, is fanning the flames to create revolutions and rebellions. The world government is already battered, and the bureaucratic system that has been in operation for 00 years has become very rigid. The out-of-control civil war in Alabasta is no longer something the world government can handle quickly. Rog looked at the map and then said, let's continue the meeting to discuss other matters at another time. Let's first think about how to land in Alabasta. Ver looked at the map of Alabasta and said, the areas suitable for landing in Alabasta are mainly the southern coast. The best port is Rapeseed Blossom. Rog looked at the map of Alabasta on the wall. In the eastern region of the southern coast of Alabasta above, a vast city, the port city of Rapeseed Flowers, was built there. The port city of Rapeseed Flowers is the largest port city in Alabasta. Rog looked at Wei and said, Wei, where do you think is the best place to land? If we want to land, it's obvious that we can land in Rapeflower. But we'd better land separately. The best thing is to land a group of troops from Rapeflower and try to stop the rebel attack there. At the same time, send an envoy to Aruba. The king's army stopped fighting. Another group of people went to seize the dancing fans of Baroque Studio. According to previous intelligence, the headquarters of Baroque Studio is in the city of Ud deep in the desert in the northwest of the kingdom, Wei said very cautiously. After hearing this, Rog and Ver suddenly felt enlightened. Wei Wei deserves to be someone who knows Alabasta inside out, so she judged the situation in Alabasta so quickly. I was still troubled about how to act in Bayalastan. Now Wei Wei just passed the route and solved the problem by the way. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Li Er a Dream. Chapter 130. Wei Wei, your method is very good. Follow this route and plan. Then we can start the Alabasta operation, Rog said. We have to hurry up. We will be able to reach Alabasta in 5 days. But some corrections are needed. Talk to Sanji and Zoro at another time, Vivi said. That's for sure, Rog said. In this way, the prototype of the operation in Alabasta was formed. Next, another formal meeting was held in which everyone attended. After discussion, it turned out that the general goal that was not formulated last time was approved by everyone. This plan is indeed very good, Sanji praised after hearing it. Sauron put his hands on his chest, thinking about this plan. With the keen intuition and judgment of a swordsman, he can find out the problems at critical moments. After thinking for a long time, Sauron also spoke, but there is still a little doubt. Crocodile is in the dark. He is also the powerful Kabuki. There are also a large number of senior agents of Baroque Studio, right? Yes, there are still a large number of senior agents that we have not solved yet in Baroque Studio. 1 and SS 2 Fingers, Point 2 Basin. At the end of the year, he is a one-man force. Merry Christmas with SS. These 5 people are still very difficult to deal with. There is also SS Quan Sunday, the vice president of Baroque Studio. She can be said to be a very scary agent. In addition, there are also a group of 200 mid-level agents with good combat capabilities. Elites, as well as a special agent force of about 2,000 people. In addition, Baroque Studio also has a large number of unknown weapons, Wei Wei said. Then the problem is that we have 2 paths, right? Then one path is to go to Rapeseed Flower Port City, where we start to mediate between the King's army and the rebel army. The other path is to go to the Rainy Land to search for the secrets of the Baroque Studio. And get important evidence for dancing fans. In this case, the opponent is still in the dark. Although the number of enemies may not be too many, we have to face the chaos in Alabasta. In this case, Crocodile is likely to be in the dark counterattack. Originally, this is a group of unpredictable enemies, and it is impossible for them to have a prepared plan, Sauron said. Sauron did point out the problems he was facing now, although now his side has a rough plan. But the other side can be in the dark, and our own side will not be so smooth. What Sauron said is indeed very reasonable. We have 2 core goals now. The first is to stop the 2 armies from fighting, and the other is to expose the crimes of the Baroque Studio. But the other party is a force that has been lurking in the dark for a long time. It is difficult for us to achieve our goals easily. For example, if we prevent the battle between the King's army and the rebel army, then the Baroque Studio may provoke another war in secret, Rog said. After listening to Rog's words, everyone fell into deep thought. Then can we completely eliminate the enemy, Rog said again. Destroy the enemy completely, Wei Wei and others looked at Rog. Rog nodded and said, our enemy is the Baroque Studio, or Crocodile, so as long as Crocodile is solved, the enemy will collapse itself. Therefore, the real solution to the problem is to kill Crocodile Doll. You are right, the opponent's throat is Crocodile. If the throat is pierced, the enemy will be completely finished, Sauron said. Indeed, if that Shichibukai is killed, then we can completely plan by ourselves. So all actions need to be carried out under the premise of killing Crocodile, Sanji said. Yes, everyone. We killed Crocodile. Then the enemy will collapse without a fight. Everything is centered on killing Crocodile. And there is another point, before killing Crocodile, we need to avoid further deterioration of the situation, Roger said. Now everyone's direction is more obvious. Crocodile needs to be killed, Otherwise everything is nothing. As long as crocodile exists in the dark, the possibility of everyone's success is extremely low. Because this careerist will continue to destroy the results of everyone's efforts in the dark. Rog asked again, crocodile's information is also very important, and we need to collect as much information as possible. We can now know that crocodile is a person with the ability to shake fruit. It is said that he can turn his opponent into a mummy. And in Alabasta, which is full of deserts, is like a duck to water. Hearing this, Usopp and Chopper not only shivered. Mummy, Chopper asked strangely, with confusion and a bit of fear on his face. That means sucking you dry and turning you into a mummy, Usopp said with chattering teeth. Chopper's face became even uglier, and Usopp described the horror to him in a low voice. Wei said to the others, Crocodile was originally a pirate. Because he was trusted by the world government, he became the king of the 7 Wokai. He can cause sandstorms. It is said that some tornadoes and sandstorms in the western part of Alabasta Crocodile did it. But he usually hides it very deeply. Avoid being noticed by the world government and the Alabasta royal family. The outside world always thinks he is a good person. According to intelligence, Crocodile has a hypocritical character, but his heart is cruel and vicious. And his whereabouts are uncertain. He will leave Barabastan occasionally, but since he is conspiring here now, then he will definitely not leave here. Finding Crocodile is the key. After hearing Wei's words, everyone fell into deep thought. Since Crocodile is so difficult to deal with, and his whereabouts are uncertain, then there is another way, which is to lure the snake out of the hole, Rog said. Lead the snake out of the cave, Sanji asked. The enemy in the dark, since you can't find him, then just find a way to lure him, Rog said. How to lure him out? Sanji asked again. Then, we need to ask Wei about this. Rog looked at Wei again and said. Because Wei is very familiar with the situation in Alabasta, so this idea can only be done by Wei. She pursed her lips slightly and thought for a long time. How to lure the snake out of the hole needs to be learned from Crocodile's character and Alabasta's situation. Rog and Sanji are also thinking about how to lure the snake out of the hole. After a while, Wei said to everyone, I have a solution. Then, since Crocodile is the king's Shichibukai, he has the responsibility to fight against pirates. So we need to pretend to be pirates once attack. Of course without causing casualties, force him to come out and fight. Wei's attention was indeed very good, Rog and others nodded. Suddenly Usopp said unhappily, we are pretending to be pirates, aren't we? After Usopp finished speaking, Rog, Sanji, and Wei all had embarrassing expressions for a while. Wei also smiled wryly. In fact, she never thought that she was a real pirate. It's just temporarily being a pirate for special reasons in the network. No matter what, the general plan has been decided, Rog said. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 131. The general plan has been finalized, and the next step is how to specifically lure the snake out of the hole. However, the situation in Alabasta is changing randomly, so everyone has been talking for many days based on intelligence and finally came up with a reasonable action plan. 5 days passed quickly, and this powerful fleet finally arrived in the waters near Alabasta. On the morning of the 6th day, Roger stood on the deck of the Victory banner. The surrounding dry sea breeze is constantly blowing on his face, and now he has reached the sea near Alabasta. The air here is extremely dry. Also on the deck, Sanji and Wei, Chopper and Usopp were observing the surroundings. Usopp kept talking to Chopper. The air here is getting drier and hotter. It's very different from the air on Magnetic Drum Island. Chopper touched the fluff on his face and said. Usopp put his hands on his chest, looked around and said, the weather here is also very dry, it seems that there are few clouds in the sky. I'm afraid the precipitation will not be too rich. It's like the one where Captain Usopp was born. the island, where the climate is warm and the precipitation is abundant, but the heroic Captain Usopp couldn't bear the loneliness and insisted on going to the sea for a great adventure. With an expression of appreciation on his face, Chopper said, "You are so brave." Of course, Captain Usopp is no ordinary person. You are from the Ice and Snow Kingdom, so you must have adapted to the climate here, Usopp said. Ah, it's true that my body is not heat resistant. After all, I have too much hair. But it's okay. Because I have a strong endurance. And I will drink some body nutrients to make the body in a dry and hot environment. It's still cooler in the middle, Chopper said. Usopp looked at Chopper and said, "You look like a child, but are you capable?" Chopper added, "The Alabasta we are going to is a desert kingdom. Can we encounter any adventures there?" Adventure? For Captain Usopp, I have encountered almost all kinds of adventures. But this is my first time in the desert area. However, there are legendary desert thieves and man-eating demons in the desert. There are sand that can dry people out, ants that eat people, and even plants that eat people, Usopp said. After hearing this, Chopper's expression changed and he said with some fear, "It's so scary." Usopp patted his chest and said again, "It is bound to be dangerous in the desert. However, I, Captain Usopp, will resolutely protect everyone." During the surprising discussions between Chopper and Usopp, these two living treasures were looking forward to the desert adventure, but also a little scared. Compared to the conversation between Chopper and Usopp, Luffy jumped to the top of the mast to look at it. This lively guy is never tired. Sauron practiced his sword on the flat area at the stern, and used the 3 blades in his hand in turn. In this hot and dry air, the blades could meet more quickly. The climate here is not bad. It is really tiring to wield a blade in the Drum Kingdom. So much wind, snow, and cold air have weakened my sword skills, Sauron said, staring at the word Hedeo in his hand. Rog, Sanji, and Wai Wei were all watching the distance from the front of the ship's deck. Looking north from here. In the distance where the sea and the sky meet, a shadow of land slowly appears. Roger saw the land, and then said, "It seems that we are almost there." "Well, is that Alabasta?" Sanji also asked. Wai Wei looked at the land in the sky. "Indeed, this is Alabasta. My motherland," Wai Wei said with a heavy tone. It had been a long time since she had seen this coastline again. In the eyes of everyone, this land is getting closer and closer. At this moment, Ver, who was wearing the uniform of the fleet commander, also came over. "Is this Alabasta?" Ver asked. "Indeed," Vivi said. "Then we can follow the plan later." Ver was talking. Before the conversation was over, suddenly the sea ahead shook. A huge object protruded from the sea mixed with sea water. Rog, Sanji, and Ver all had weird faces, as if an unknown creature came out of the sea. Usopp and Chopper were a little surprised. Wai Wei's face was complicated, as if she remembered something. A huge creature, more than 50 meters tall, protruded from the sea. The body of this creature is a torpedo, covered with scales. The head and upper body are a giant cat. This is the sea cat, a sea king creature. "Oh my god, monster!" Chopper shouted as he jumped on Usopp in surprise. "Cat-headed sea monster," Usopp said in surprise. The two hugged each other tightly. Sanji's eyes widened too, his curly eyebrows curled up. "What is this?" Sanji asked in shock. Rog looked at the huge sea cat, and sighed in his heart that such an exaggerated creature existed. Ver and some nearby officers looked at Sea Cat in shock. "It's the Sea King type, prepare the bow artillery," Ver ordered using the phone bug he carried with him. The bow of the Victory banner has a double-mounted double-door heavy-duty battleship turret with a diameter of 1 meter and a length of more than 10 meters. Immediately locked onto the huge Sea Cat that appeared in front of him. 2 heavy battleship guns aimed straight at Sea Cat. The Sea Cat had a dull expression at the beginning, but quickly felt that it had caused some trouble, and acted a little scared. and many more. Wei quickly stopped fans from giving orders. Look, it won't hurt others. This is a sea cat, a mythical beast in Alabasta. It's very docile, as gentle as a real cat. Don't hurt it, it's a mythical beast of the people of Alabasta. Often help maintain the balance of marine life here, Wei explained to Ver and others. Rog looked at the bewildered sea cat, and quickly said to Ver, please stop the attack order immediately. Ver looked at the sea cat, it didn't seem to be aggressive. Pause attack. Ver lifted the attack order. The sea cat in front of it was only now recovering, and when it realized something was wrong, it hurriedly threw itself into the sea again and stayed away from the fleet. Never dared to approach these powerful warships again. After a crisis was resolved, Wei also took a breath. Okay, everyone. Let's move on, Wei said. Ver also nodded, and said, okay, according to the plan we have discussed over the past few days. We will divide into 2 routes and head to Kingdom Newport on the northwest coast ahead. The other route will continue to Rapeseed Flowers. There are 2 large ports on the southern coast of Alabasta. Among them, the one to the east is the old port Rapeseed Flower. To the west is Kingdom Newport, a new port built by the kingdom before the tragic Civil War. It is precisely because Kingdom Newport is closer to the inland rainlands that it is more likely to attract crocodile here. And because we want to alleviate the Civil War situation, we need to go to Rapeseed Flowers. So the fleet split into 2 and took action. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee Dream. Chapter 132. The fleet has a total of 16 ships, divided into 2 teams. Each of the 8 warships went to 2 places. Among them, Rog, Sauron, Luffy, Chopper and Usopp are divided into a team. 5 people and 8 warships headed for the Xingang area of the kingdom. And Vivi, Sanji, Nami, and Runkui are divided into a team. The team went to the Rapeseed area. It was also accompanied by 8 warships. On the deck of the Victory banner, the 2 teams began to separate. Vivi, Sanji. You are going to the Rapeseed Blossom area together, and you must be cautious there. In addition to the people like this moment secretly in the Baroque studio, you also need to worry about other local forces. For example, the rebel army is nearby. It is very important to deal with the complicated relationship there, Rog exhorted Vivi and Sanji. Wei nodded and said, don't worry, we will definitely complete the mission. I have to go there just to mediate the battle between the 2 sides. Sanji said confidently, I will be responsible for protecting the safety of Miss Vivi and Miss Nami. Ga barked when it ran fast to show its reliability. Go all the way, Usopp said to Wei and the others. Be careful, Chopper said. Wei said firmly to Rog and the others, don't worry, we will definitely return in triumph. But you must be careful. After Rog said goodbye to Vivi and Sanji, Vivi, Sanji, Nami, and Runner left the Victory Flag warship together. Together they transferred to a nearby ship, the Ocean Fortress. The Ocean Fortress carried 4 people and led 8 warships including itself, heading northeast. Rog and Sauron stood on the deck and watched Wei and the others leave before turning around. Rog walked to the side of Ver and said to him, okay, let's go to Kingdom Newport. Okay, Ver said. The Victory banner began to sail towards Kingdom Newport. A total of 8 warships began to move towards the kingdom's military port. During the march, the 8 warships began to pull down the sails. As planned, a new pirate flag with a skull on it was hung. The 8 warships pretended to be pirates and attacked the kingdom's new port. Then lure Crocodile out. Rog stood on the deck of the Victory flag and looked back at the skull on the huge sail. I hope everything goes well and lure Crocodile out, Rog said. With the dry sea breeze blowing, the 8 warships continued to march towards the northwest. in an inland city in the Northwest Territories of Alabasta. Because the city is deep inland, it is relatively far away from the war. And because it is connected to the commercial route beyond the northern mountains, the south can be connected to the route leading to Kingdom Newport, and to the east is the Sandora River that traverses Alabasta from east to west. So even in this war-torn era, it is relatively peaceful. Because of the tranquility and the relatively remote location, a large number of rich people and elites from various industries who originally lived in the eastern region came to live here in the years after the start of the Alabasta Civil War. In addition to going overseas, it is to come to the peaceful city Rainland deep in the desert. Therefore, the Rainland has become a storage area for the Kingdom of Alabasta to store a large amount of supplies and food. In addition to sufficient medicine and food here, people can also enjoy the peace that hardly existed in the war years. Because of this, many people are hoarding various supplies here from various traffic arteries, such as the southern Kingdom of Newport and the commercial routes in the northern mountain range. Moreover, the rainy land is often irrigated by the rivers in the northern mountains, and it is also capable of producing a large amount of food materials. Food, cloth, silk, handicrafts, medicines, metallurgy, and even some munitions can all be produced here. On the busy streets of Uti, people come and go in a hurry. Because a large number of people from other areas took refuge here, there seemed to be a lot more people here. But everything seems to be in order. In addition to the local security forces, there is also a mysterious person sitting here. That is Alabasta's most feared hero, Shah Crocodile. At the end of the most open commercial street in Uti, a magnificent desert-style building stands there. The building is made of yellow rock and looks like a meter-high pyramid. But the pyramid-like buildings are layered with ornately decorated glass windows. The pyramid building is surrounded by a huge pool of water. The pool is full of sea water and there are many scary giant crocodiles living there. At the top of this magnificent pyramid building, in the tallest room, a middle-aged man in an expensive fur coat sat on a sofa. The middle-aged man had a cigar in his mouth, and took it away from time to time to flick it in the ashtray beside him. Although it is the top floor, the light here is not very bright. The middle-aged man seemed to like hiding in the darkness and did not want outsiders to know his secrets. A desert goshawk flew past the window ahead. The middle-aged man stood up and began to walk to the window. First, the pair of gloomy and elusive eyes, and then the horizontal scar on the nose also appeared. This is King Shishibukai, the owner of Baroque Studio, Sand Crocodile. Everything is still so peaceful, Crocodile said. The city outside is still so quiet. But Crocodile is very clear that in the eastern part of the kingdom, wars are happening every day. Millions of troops are fighting every day. Alabasta was turned upside down by the war, and the instigator of everything was Crocodile. This storm was set off in this ancient civilized country in order to control this country. Then look for that terrifying ancient weapon. That way Crocodile can truly realize his ambition. To contend against the world government, and even conquer the world. Crocodile finished smoking the cigar in his hand and threw it into the ashtray. With amazing skills, the cigar butt finally fell into the ashtray intact under the floating sand. Just like this thing, things that should be thrown away will be thrown away sooner or later. It's just for temporary enjoyment, Crocodile said in a low voice. In fact, just like a finished cigar, the identity of Shishibukai is also temporary. It's just that Crocodile needs some time and this identity as a cover to deceive the trust of the world government and deal with the local forces in Alabasta. Then slowly, under the prestige of the hero, he secretly realized his goal. Once the time comes, they will be thrown away like cigar butts. After a while of crisp high-heeled shoes, a tall woman walked in. The woman is wearing a purple dress and a sun hat. "You're here, all Sunday," Crocodile said. The woman looked at Crocodile with blue eyes and said, "Boss, we have something to do." "Oh," Crocodile said. "There is a group of pirates who arrived at the new port of the kingdom. They started provoking there and said they wanted to compete with Crocodile all Sunday, or Nico, Robin said. Crocodile looked at her angrily and said threateningly, "Didn't I say, don't say my name." Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 133. When Quan Sunday saw Crocodile's angry eyes, he couldn't help but show an expression of surrender. "Sorry, boss," Quan Sunday said. Crocodile continued to ask, "You said that a group of pirates invaded the kingdom's new port, and they were provocative and specifically challenged me." "Yes, boss. This group of pirates is not ordinary. According to our agent's report, this group of pirates has a large warship, and its force is comparable to a pirate group in a fleet. They invaded the new port of the kingdom, but there are not many destruction. But the main thing there is a demonstration, saying that they are not convinced by King Shichibukai and asking you to come out and fight them," Quan Sunday continued. Crocodile looked directly at Quan Sunday and was silent for a while. "It seems that some pirate forces want to challenge the powerful me to enhance their reputation. Like this, you first send 2 new air-armed airships driven by agents. In addition, send some ground troops to assist in the battle," Crocodile ordered. "As ordered," Quan Zhou said respectfully and then went down. Crocodile turned his eyes to the window again, and said in a low voice, "There are always some people in this world who are daring and presumptuous, but I am not in the mood to deal with them myself. Crocodile attaches great importance to His Majesty, but in many cases he will not do things if he thinks it is meaningless. Although the Baroque studio under him only has people and a few senior agents, in addition to the abilities of the agents themselves, there are also many powerful weapons. At the new port of the kingdom, a pirate warship with the skull and crossbones flag docked here. At the same time, Rog, Saran, Luffy and a large number of fleet officers and soldiers landed. Since it was intended to lure Crocodile, it did not destroy the port city. A group of people just hyped up here and said a lot of provocative words. They even began to hang banners attacking Crocodile in the area near the port in order to stimulate Crocodile to fight. Ha ha ha, this is the best thing to do." Luffy was very happy to use his rubber ability to fly over the walls between houses. Because of his ability, he was responsible for hanging banners attacking Crocodile among the houses in the city. Luffy first hung one end of the banner on the top of a 3-story building, then stretched his hand to the other side, and brought his whole body over. Then tie the other end of the banner to the top of another house. The banner was hung between 2 buildings, and some people on the ground looked up at the banner. It reads impressively, "The coward Crocodile dare not fight." Hundreds of banners like this have been hung in the port area and nearby urban areas. These guys are really not afraid of death. How dare they challenge Crocodile? Crocodile is the hero of Alabasta. They, a group of pirates, want to challenge him, and they really want to die. However, this group of pirates did not invade this place, they just challenged Crocodile. This group of pirates actually has so many powerful warships, and they must be very strong. Anyway, it's a battle between the strong, we can just watch the battle. Since that's the case, let's just sit back and watch the tigers fight. To be honest, I don't like Crocodile, although so many people regard him as a national hero of Alabasta. Even if he is defeated by these pirates, I will not be sad. Of course, it is best for both sides to suffer. Residents in the surrounding area are talking about it, and they all want to see which one is more powerful, these powerful foreign pirates or the legendary Kixia. For a moment, the eyes of tens of thousands of residents in Kingdom Xingong were looking forward to a big battle. In addition to using the technique of hanging banners, Rog and the others also sent a large number of people to walk around the city and the port area to provoke Crocodile. Usopp and Chopper were in a group, and they were showing off on the street together. "Crocodile, you grandson," Usopp shouted. "Crocodile, come out quickly," Chopper also raised his voice and shouted. "Crocodile, you have never seen Captain Usopp's majestic body. Or you dare not see it, because as soon as you heard Captain Usopp's reputation, you ran away. You huddled in the turtle hole, not daring to come out and challenge. If you come out, you will be knocked away by Captain Usopp's long nose. Usopp looked up to the sky and taunted. Chopper was tired after shouting for a while, looked at Usopp admiringly, and asked, "How can you say that?" "Haha, that's because Captain Usopp is well informed and has experienced countless brutal and inhuman battles, so he has so much experience to narrate." Usopp praised himself. But Usopp and Chopper were tired of shouting so loudly. Chopper quickly looked at the delicacies and snacks on the street. "Usopp, what is that soft thing?" Chopper said as he looked at a shop selling cotton candy. Usopp looked at the shop selling cotton candy, which was filled with a variety of candies. "You ask about that? That is a very unique candy in the world that melts in your mouth, is as soft as silk, and is as sweet as honey. It's called marshmallow," Usopp said exaggeratedly. "Marshmallows, they look like cotton," Chopper said in shock. Usopp took a look and said, "Do you know why marshmallows were invented?" "Why?" Chopper asked with confusion on his face. "Because that was invented by Captain Usopp," Usopp said proudly. Chopper was very shocked and said, "Really?" Usopp nodded and said, "Really, when Captain Usopp was out at sea, he once met a senior pastry chef from Cake Island. He was very eager to get a new candy invention. So Captain Usopp thought hard. And finally got inspiration from silk, and made cotton candy. And Captain Usopp did a good deed without leaving his name, let the pastry chef promote the production technology of cotton candy to the world." After hearing this, Chopper admired Usopp. "You are so great, but I want to taste that cotton candy right now," Chopper said expectantly. Usopp looked at the candy store selling cotton candy, and said, "This is a piece of cake. But I also want to try how the cotton candy here is made. It looks like the pastry chef from Cake Island even made it. It can compete with me, but I don't know how many people have passed it on here. I'm afraid the technology is much worse. Even the taste of the marshmallows made is questionable. But let's buy some." Usopp deceived Chopper to such an extent that Chopper also loved desserts. So without hesitation, the two of them rushed to the shop selling candy. Arriving in front of the candy store, Usopp took out the money. "Here are 5 marshmallows, here you are." Usopp paid. The candy store owner was very happy to give Usopp and Chopper 5 marshmallows inserted with wooden sticks. Chopper couldn't wait to put a bunch of marshmallows into his mouth and licked it. Delicious. Chopper was about to jump up in shock, tears were about to flow out. This kind of soft angel, Chopper has never eaten it in the magnetic drum country. Hot chocolate is a favorite in drum country, or a cold drink made with local ice and snow. It was the first time in his life that Chopper, a candy like marshmallow, had eaten it. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 134. Chopper enjoyed tasting the extremely delicious, silky cotton candy with his mouth. After enjoying himself for a while, Chopper turned his head to look at Usopp again. "What a delicious cotton candy. You are a genius. You can invent this kind of thing," Chopper praised Usopp. Usopp also enjoyed tasting the marshmallow, and then said, "This kind of marshmallow is not bad." After Usopp tasted the marshmallow, he looked at the candy shop owner again. The boss said with a smile on his face, "How about it, do you need to buy more?" "Okay, can I buy some more?" Chopper said. Usopp moved the marshmallow away from his mouth. "Boss, the marshmallows here are really good. But I still want to publicize our business. By the way, we are pirates who are unrivaled on the Great Route. But we don't like the people who are huddled in the desert. Crocodile, so we have to provoke him to fight." "How much do you know about that crocodile?" Usopp said proudly. "You're asking that crocodile, he is the national hero of Alabasta. It may not be easy to defeat him," the boss said earnestly. After the boss finished speaking, the expression on Usopp's face became more exaggerated. Is he very strong? That's just right. I, Captain Usopp, and other members are not afraid of any strong enemies, Usopp said proudly. After Usopp finished speaking, the boss was also silent. He just keeps getting more marshmallows for Chopper, and some newly chosen candies. After wrapping all the candies and giving them to Chopper, Chopper and Usopp left here proudly. Down with Crocodile, Usopp and Chopper shouted and jumped away from here at the same time. The two continued to shop like this while shopping for various delicacies, while promoting the slogan of attacking Crocodile. The candy shop owner watched the two people leave with a smile on his face. Suddenly his face became very gloomy. The candy store owner turned his head to the side and took out a phone bug from his clothes. There is also a skull, two crossed swords, and a pair of angel wings engraved on his arm. Below the pattern is impressively written, Baroque Studio. The candy store owner was an agent of Baroque Workshop, and he connected the phone bug to the upper-level agents. Now the pirates here in Zingon Kingdom are aggressively attacking Crocodile. Please give instructions as soon as possible. The other side wrote back after a while. Don't worry, the Baroque Studio has already sent troops there. Just wait and watch and stand by. Yes, the candy store owner ended the call. In this way, Chopper and Usopp continued to promote on the city streets of Zingon Kingdom, and many other fleet soldiers also promoted like them. When the public opinion offensive was booming, Rog and Sauron stood on the top of a building. Rog looked at the hundreds of banners hanging between different houses in the urban area, which were full of offensive words. The fleet soldiers and Usopp in the city are promoting it vigorously. Rog stood on the top of the building and looked at all this, but he was always hesitating in his heart. Is it possible? According to the collection of Crocodile's information, he is a very face-saving person. If ordinary people are provoked like this, they will definitely fight. But then again, Crocodile is also a conspirator. Would you be angry because of such a little provocation? Crocodile is a powerful enemy who is willing to hide for many years in order to realize the conspiracy and seize Alabasta. Zoro, do you think he will come? Rog asked. A conspirator will act cautiously in this situation. Especially now is a critical period. However, it is impossible for him to not act at all, Sauron said. At the time when both men were thinking, the northern part of Kingdom Newport. In the sky, two airships each 50 meters long were approaching quickly. Under the two airships are huge cabin-shaped pods. The pod is covered with weapons, and there are groups of cannons and machine guns on the side. Inside the front of the pod is a massive built-in hatch that hides a formidable weapon. The hulls of the two airships are decorated with the Baroque Studio skull, crossed swords, and angel wings logo. These two airships are the air-armed airships used by Baroque Studio's agents. Baroque Studio has always liked all kinds of advanced weapons. Because of the combat needs of the elite special agents, Baroque Studio also has a lot of advanced weapons. These two air-armed airships were imported from the Drexus military enterprise. In fact, the air-armed airship is an improved weapon of the Air Mobile Fortress. The Air Mobile Fortress once appeared in the Drum Revolutionary War, and it caused great difficulties for Rog and the others on the top of the mountain. However, the pod of that kind of aerial mobile fortress is a hot air balloon, while this new type of aerial armed airship is a long airship. In addition, the air-armed airship has increased the side's ability to attack the ground with volleys of artillery. The aerial armed airship now used by Baroque Studio is so powerful in terms of speed and firepower that it is unimaginable. Two air-armed airships are constantly approaching from the north to the Kingdom Newport in the south. Among them, the one that is biased towards the east is No. And the one that is biased towards the west is No. Inside the front end of the pod of airship No. A fierce man with a burly upper body stood here. Everything can be seen from the glass windows. The pilots on the side were very cautious in manipulating the armed airship in the air. Mr. 6, we are now 10 minutes away from Kingdom Newport, a driver reported. This burly man is the mid-level agent of Baroque Studio. 6. Point 6 turned his head and glanced at him. Those dull eyes filled with the aura of death scared the pilot's heart. In fact, what scared him was not only the opponent's momentum, but also the fact that the opponent was a mid-level agent whose status was second only to the senior agent in Baroque Studio. Point 6 and another agent, Mother's Day, were responsible for the operation to the new port of the kingdom. Okay, let's move on. I also want to contact the Mother's Day of the air-armed airship 6. Said. The front end of the pod-on airship. A fat and exaggerated woman wearing a gorgeous lady's dress was applying makeup and powder to her fat face. She is another agent responsible for this operation. Mother's Day. This lonely and self-admired woman suddenly received an emergency communication from the air-armed airship No. It turns out to be Point 6. What's going on? Mother's Day asked in a tone full of arrogance. We are almost arriving at the new port of the kingdom. Let's get ready for action. Point 6's stiff voice came over. I know, I will do my best, Mother's Day said. After ending the communication, I picked up the makeup box again on Mother's Day and continued to appreciate myself. I have an extremely dull man as my partner, but now it's time to get down to business after all. Let's put the beauty aside first. Mother's Day closed the makeup box and began to direct. The two air-armed airships accelerated towards the target kingdom, Newport. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 135. In Kingdom Newport, after Rog and the fleet soldiers had been promoting for a while, the whole city was already buzzing. Now in Kingdom Newport, no one knows that someone is openly calling out crocodile. Privately, the agents of Baroque Studios also followed the instructions. Many agents began to prepare sophisticated agent weapons in order to go into battle. Rog came to the top of a local bell tower, which was 50 or 60 meters high, and the surrounding view was still relatively wide. Here Rog looks around. Looking around, there is no situation where the enemy is about to attack. Since Crocodile himself is inconvenient to attack, he should at least send Baroque agents to fight. Looking at the banners in the city below, Rog felt deeply that Crocodile would rather be a coward than take meaningless risks. After all, Crocodile has worked hard for many years to capture Alabasta. It is not easy to attack because of this kind of thing. While he was thinking, Rog suddenly saw two objects flying over from the sky from the north of the city. What is this? Rog took off a telescope from his waist. Use a telescope to look at two objects in the northern sky. I saw two airships filled with weapon pods below. It turned out to be the weapon of the Baroque Studio logo. GE naturally saw the Baroque Studio logo on the airship body. Two armed airships approached continuously. Roger looked at their height, and then started to take out a phone bug. Ver, I have something to ask you, Rog communicated to Ver. What's going on? Ver asked in the communication. Now, two airships full of weapons are flying from the sky area in the north of the kingdom's new port. They belong to the Baroque Studio. It is not certain whether Crocodile himself has come, but, does your fleet have weapons that can shoot down they? Roger asked. Ver was silent for a while and finally received a reply. If you say that the enemy in the northern sky is an airship, our warships are equipped with rapid-fire cannons that can attack air targets. If we attract them over, we can attack them, Ver said. Okay. Shoot them down first and then talk about other things, Rog said. Then Roger hung up the phone bug and started to leave the top of the clock tower. Rog quickly arrived in the urban area, and began to quickly find Sauron and Usopp, as well as Chopper and Luffy, and began to discuss combat plans while walking in the urban area. They are coming, Zoro asked. Yes, it is certain that two airships loaded with weapons came from the sky. However, there may be agents lurking in the city on the other side's ground to cooperate. Rog observed the surroundings carefully and said. Luffy looked very happy after hearing this. He said happily, "The enemy is finally here, I can fight them off." "Is it scary if there is an airship in the sky?" Chopper asked worriedly, still licking the marshmallows he bought before. Usopp patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, Captain Usopp will protect everyone." "Well, that's what you said," Chopper said after receiving Usopp's assurance. Rog and the others kept retreating towards the port where the warship was located. After all, there are many ordinary people in the city, and Rog and the others are not willing to harm innocent people. More importantly, the rapid-fire guns capable of shooting down those two air-armed airships are available on those fleets. Rog and the others ran all the way, and finally arrived near the port. But at this moment, suddenly two blonde men in black dresses rushed out, blocking the way. "Who are you?" Usopp asked in shock. "Wow, isn't this Sanji?" "Why do you have an extra brother?" Luffy asked even more exaggeratedly. Chopper also looked at the two men in surprise and said, "Sanji, why are you here?" Rog and Saran stopped, and looked at the two men very carefully. At first glance, these two men do look a bit like Sanji, but of course that's just the costumes. And the two are wearing bow tie dresses, while Sanji is in a suit and tie. The two men were blonde and half hidden. But if you look closely at their appearance, they are far less handsome than Sanji, and their eyes are very slanted upwards, with an evil spirit. What's more, Sanji's curly eyebrows and cigarettes are something the two don't have. "It seems that you are also partisans of Baroque Studio. Please report your name," Rog said. "We are the .22 twins from Baroque Studio. Because we can confirm that you are the leader of the pirates, we decided to eliminate you," two blonde men in black dresses said together. The voices of the two people are almost identical in opening and closing, and each pronunciation seems to be very similar. To put it bluntly, it completely makes people feel that two people are speaking with two mouths by one person. The two men in black suits, namely the .22 twins, pulled out two long swords from their sleeves. There are a total of 4 of these long swords, all of which look like soft swords. Saran saw that the other party showed his dick, so he also put his hands on his waist. "Rog, please wait a moment. I will deal with them," Saran said. "Okay, I'll leave it to you," Roger said. Zoro is a sword fanatic. Once he sees an opponent using a sword, he wants to go up and fight. Zoro pulled out the Yukaizu and Wado Ikemon from his waist, and prepared to fight with 2 swords in both hands. There are 2 opponents, each with 2 long soft swords, then Saran will deal with 2 people with 1 arm and 1 knife. "Oh, you are a dual swordsman." .22 the twin brothers said. "What about you, aren't you also in the dual sword style?" Zoro asked. .22 the twin brothers looked at each other and said, "No, we are the 4 swordsman style." To be more precise, it's the 4 sword style. Zoro mocked the 2 opponents. .22 the twin brothers started to take action. The 2 jumped into the air together, and quickly stabbed Saran with 4 soft long swords. Twins unite, 4 sword styles. Sword net. The 4 soft long swords slashed towards Saran like a steel sword net. Saran's fighting instinct felt that the opponent's sword net was difficult to avoid and was about to trap him to death. Rhinoceros Zoro spun his swords, and his whole body took advantage of this momentum to move to the side. .22 the twin brothers' attack failed. 2 people landed on the ground. The ground beneath their feet was cut like a grid by soft long swords. And the cut marks were an inch deep. "That's really good. Your tacit understanding is so strong," Zoro also praised. .22 The most powerful thing about the twin brothers is their tacit understanding. Their tacit understanding makes the use of the soft long sword by 2 people almost the same as the effect of 1 person. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 136. .22 The twin brothers regained their footing on the ground and looked at Zoro together. "You are right, we brothers are like 1 person. Our words and movements are coordinated to the extreme. Point 22 The twin brothers said together. Zoro brandished his two swords, keeping his feet steady. Then the whole person rushed over like a cheetah. Point 22 When Zoro rushed over, the twin brothers moved quickly and fell sideways and backwards. The two brothers were as flexible as springs. After Sauron swung his sword, the two quickly moved behind Sauron. Four soft long swords pierced Sauron's back. At this moment, Sauron's body suddenly turned a somersault. The whole person stood upright in the opposite direction. The two samurai swords in Zoro's hands twirled in their arms. The two samurai swords created a storm of blades like two whirlwinds. Double blade style. Double blade storm. Zoro attacked the opponent's two soft long swords with the two blade storms formed by the two samurai swords in both arms. Point 22 The twin brothers also looked surprised. They clearly realized that they were already in dire straits. Two people's soft long swords were swept in by the blade storm in groups of two. The relatively soft nature of soft long swords makes them easy to be rolled up by the storm formed by this rotating blade. Just like a pulley can roll up a rope, the four soft long swords were rolled up abruptly by Sauron's double-edged storm. Point 22 The twin brothers were also dragged out of balance by the sword in their hands. No, abandon the sword quickly. Point 22 The twin brothers quickly released their four soft long swords. The two brothers who had lost their weapons hurriedly retreated to the rear. Sauron also stopped the double-edged storm, and the four soft long swords were thrown away. In fact, in the face of Sauron's double-edged storm, not only the soft long sword, but also the iron chain and whip will be restrained. The two brothers who had lost their weapons looked at each other. Now we are at a disadvantage, retreat quickly. The two brothers said together. Just when they were about to retreat, Sauron whispered coldly, no swordsman would run away like this after defeat. The Point 22 twin brothers who were escaping together suddenly felt a powerful sword energy hit their backs. Eagle wave. Sauron's double swords had already swung two sword chi, hitting two fleeing enemies. What? The two wounded brothers even groaned together. Then the two twin brothers in black dresses fell heavily to the ground together. Zoro looked at the two fallen enemies and put the two swords back into their scabbards. If Curly Eyebrow sees you like this, he will go crazy. I will take care of you on his behalf. Zoro finally looked at the two defeated enemies and said. After Zoro successfully defeated the Point 22 twin brothers, Rog also walked to the front, clapped his hands and said, okay, what a great skill. Chopper was even more shocked and rushed forward. After carefully observing the fallen enemy, he praised Zoro. Zoran, your skills are so handsome. Well, I, Captain Usopp, also recognize your swordsmanship. Sauron's swordsman Usopp also raised his chin and pretended to say. Luffy jumped to the fallen Point 22 twin brothers and kept questioning, the two fake Sanji are really too weak. The real Sanji can fight Zoro for a long time. Rog looked at the port ahead and said, let's go to the warship quickly. Rog and Sauron quickly continued to the fleet. In the sky of Xingong City in the kingdom, two armed airships have already arrived above the city. In the pod on the armed airship number 6. Discuss the details of the operation with the pilots on the side. Now we are above the new port city of this kingdom. Now we can see the pirate ships on the other side of the port. They are clearly a group of warships. Point 6 said after observing. Sir 6, our agents in the city are already preparing for action. However, a large part of the opponent's troops are on the warship, a pilot reported. Is this obvious? We need to destroy their warships so that the pirates can't escape from the sea. Point 6 said. The faces of several drivers on the side became a little surprised. They had thought that the dull, strong man only knew how to use brute force. Rather than tactics. In this situation, sinking the fleet's warships is the best way to eliminate the pirates. Yes, Lord. Point 6. It's best for us to fight like this. The enemy can't escape, a pilot said quickly. Point 6 glanced at him with dull eyes and said, "Very good, contact Mother's Day on airship immediately." In the pod of airship 6, Mother's Day received a communication from. This fat but domineering woman said to the phone bug, "Point 6, don't you know that of course I understand this? I thought of it before you notified me. Since we have all thought of it together, let's destroy those warships first." Then the fat woman hung up the phone bug and said, "Is that stupid guy really much smarter than I thought?" Air-armed airship No and No flew towards the fleet warships in the port at full speed. The cannons, machine guns, and special weapons on the air-armed airship are repeatedly checked by the operator. Although there are only two of them, the power of these two armed airships is comparable to two gods of death who fell from the sky. On the ground, Rog and Sauron have already arrived at the port. On the side is the Victory Banner and 7 other warships. On the deck of the Victory Banner, Ver directed the officers to quickly implement the placement of anti-aircraft weapons. The hull of the Victory Banner is 150 meters long and has 3 large towers. There are 2 on the hull and 1 on the stern. There was originally a weapon platform on the tower, but now a large special anti-aircraft rapid-fire gun is installed. There are 6 special anti-aircraft rapid-fire guns with a caliber of 10 cm on the top of each tower. A total of 18 specially made anti-aircraft rapid-fire guns were installed. These are the core firepower of the air defense on the Victory Banner. The barrels of these black and long advanced anti-aircraft rapid-fire guns are engraved with the words "Made by Drexus." The military industry company of Lexus has long expected that airships, hot air balloons, gliders, and other flying weapons will further demonstrate their capabilities in future wars. So this special anti-aircraft weapon was developed. Although it is said to be anti-aircraft, its horizontal fire on the ground is also extremely powerful and can penetrate the armor of the opponent's warship. Some steel-armored warships are also difficult to resist its penetrating power. In addition to these special anti-aircraft rapid-fire guns, some other auxiliary weapons were placed on the deck for air defense. Except for the Victory Banner, other warships are more or less equipped with special anti-aircraft rapid-fire guns and other auxiliary weapons. The 2 incoming air-armed airships are getting closer, and it happens that they are also made by Drexus. A showdown of Drexus-made weapons is about to take place.